Hi and welcome to the CineCity 2008 podcast. I'm your host, Marbell. Taking us into the final week of the festival was the auspicious debut feature Helen from writer-directors Christine Molloy and Joe Lawler. Helen is a film about an outsider who, through tragic circumstances, is presented with an opportunity to experience a life far removed from her care home background. Film programmer Jason Wood led the Q&A with co-director Christine Molloy.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to be very informal and just stand. So please welcome the film's co-director and producer and editor, Christine Molloy. Thank you. It does feel very odd, sort of standing up here on this big stage. Are you comfortable? Should we sit on the?
Yeah, we could sit.
Can you see us if we sit on the corner? Yeah. We'll start off with some questions, and then we will give you the opportunity to also ask some questions. But I just wanted to kick off by asking a little bit about Desperate Optimists and the philosophy behind Desperate Optimists, and how you and your creative partner Joe began in theatre and internet and art installation productions.
Yeah, we've been working together for a long time, and I suppose we really did start initially in Dublin back in the 80s, very much in the area of community arts work. And we then both came to the UK together and did a theatre arts degree in Dartington College of Arts in Devon, of all places. And so our focus shifted, and we became very involved in theatre practice. And before we kind of came back full circle to more community arts-based work, but through moving image practice. So we kind of moved out of live performance work and started to work a lot with video and eventually with film. We also did a bit of work online. And I'd say that what's kind of a common area of inquiry and investigation across all the work we've done has been around narrative and performance, and that kind of interest in kind of formal issues about how work is made. So how something is made has really been the signature, the interest that we have had and carried through all the different areas of work we've been involved in over the years.
And how did that kind of interest in narrative and how things are made kind of naturally develop from the shorter pieces that you made? And we'll talk about the Civic Life series of films in a moment. How did that develop to a full-length narrative feature, which is Helen?
Well, I'd say that kind of curiosity about form has been knocked around for a long time with myself and Joe and our approach to work. I would kind of blame the ethos of Dartington a lot for that, where issues about form aren't taken for granted, and they're there to be really explored and to be kind of worked with and manipulated. And we've always been interested in cinema, I'd say more than any other art form, although we've worked in theatre and we've worked on online projects and with video. Cinema has always been our kind of first love and passion, and yet we've kind of come into cinema in a strange way, because we've come into cinema through the Civic Life project, which primarily is really a community arts project, which has obviously led to a body of work for cinema, 9 short films and a feature. But we didn't approach the project as necessarily as filmmakers first and foremost, but we approached it as an art project with cinema as the outpoint.
And in terms of the Civic Life project, which I've kind of followed, there are other films in that series, Who Killed Brown Owl, for example, and Joy. And there seems to be a real kind of organic relationship between the films and that project. Was that an intentional approach as well? Because Joy deals with a similar subject, but from a different perspective to Helen.
Yeah, not initially. It wasn't a grand plan right from the beginning, but it kind of became a bit of a plan as we went from one commission to the other. So the success of Who Killed Brown Owl and quite a few of the parameters of that project were dictated to us from the funders. So, for example, the participation of local people was absolutely dictated to us by the funders. The engagement with location was also dictated to us. The desire to work on film was our decision, and to try and make that work within the budget that they had on the table, I think determined the aesthetics of the work. So Who Killed Brown Owl was, you know, a commission, and it could have been a one-off, but very shortly after we made Who Killed Brown Owl, we got another commission to make a film for the Irish representation at the Sao Paulo Biennale, and we decided to take the elements of the methodology that we used for Who Killed Brown Owl and to apply them to another film, although a very, very different project. And it was, having made Moore Street, we decided that this could actually be a model that we could continue to work with and really allow the model and the encounters that we had with various community groups to start to define and shape even more particularly the work that was made in, you know, within using this methodology. And, you know, so we managed to make 8 short films in this way, and we arrived at a point in 2007 where we had 4 different agencies wanting to commission a short film at the same time. And, you know, as I said, it wasn't part of our grand plan to end up with a feature film, but, you know, when you have 4 people putting money on the table saying we would like you to make a short film, we believed then that we probably had a real opportunity to, you know, move it onto a different level and try and make a feature. And luckily for us, the 4 commissioning bodies were really seduced by that and liked the idea, and, you know, we're happy to pool resources and, you know, make a feature rather than 4 standalone shorts.
And this idea of community is essential. I mean, I unfortunately missed your introduction because my train was delayed, but Helen is filmed in the northeast, in, you know, Tyneside, in an area which is very kind of personally keen to me. But you really kind of immerse yourselves in the community because you cast from within the community, the funding is from the community, and you also like to premiere the films in the cinema in the community. It reminds me of the way David Gordon Green works, the way he kind of goes in when he makes his films in Carolina. How does that kind of community spirit benefit the actual production?
I think what it does at the end, ultimately, is create this very odd and peculiar tension between the production values that we employ and the machinery of cinema and this, I suppose, kind of raw involvement that we also bring to it. So there's a kind of an interesting tension between the machinery of cinema and then the kind of unprofessional or raw involvement of our cast, because basically the model for most of the Civic Life films, including Helen, is very much whoever wants to be involved can be involved, and whoever turns up on the day is in the film. Now, the exception we made for Helen is that we actually cast the part of Annie, or we cast Annie in the part of Helen, because we knew that the film kind of would turn on the presence of the lead performer, and we couldn't just leave that to chance. We literally knew we couldn't take the first person that you know, turned up and said, I want to be in your film and I want to play the part of Helen. We just knew we couldn't do that. So we did look, but we looked within the local community, and we looked for non-performers. We didn't go looking for actresses as such, professional actresses. We looked for somebody who has no acting experience, and, you know, lucky for us that Annie crossed our path.
Was Annie always your first choice because she's remarkable in the film? Were there other people that you looked at, or did she have a particular quality that you thought was right for the part?
Well, you know, unlucky for us, we were looking for somebody to be in the film during the summer months, and lots of the organisations that we would work with and who we would, you know, hope to find our performer from, they were all on summer holidays, nobody's around, and we actually we started to shoot on the 19th of October, and Annie only came on board at the beginning of October, so I think we were down to the wire, and we actually made moves